Good morning. Today is April 22nd, 11:08 a.m. I want to talk about first and foremost my previous posting, carrying across to the posting that it was my sermon that I wrote, and Melanie has gone around. Melanie was out there, so I would like to say it again. Oh goodness, I dropped the paper. Just a moment. I would like to say again that about how I hear things and how it's connected to Toronto via the camera, the microphone. I'm not going to take this off because the last time I took it off, I ended up losing it, and it. All right, I'll take it off. There. There we go. I have goodness. Sorry. In order for me to speak properly, I have to have this in because otherwise I can't hear myself and I sound like an idiot. I think too low or too high. Because I can't hear myself. The sermon I had practiced dozens of times, and they've obviously heard it over at Cast Fire Toronto through a microphone, through the camera. In fact, I will speak first and foremost. This sermon, this is the original, and that's the date, 2016, August 15th, 2016. It was originally written. I was going through a time in my life where I needed to seek our Heavenly Father's face. I was going through a really bad time in my life, and the way I did it is I would go into the Bible and I would research, and then I would write these so-called sermons. I have a number of them. I have about 16. This is a 2-pager. Originally it was called The Four Components of the Cross. Duncan changed the title to Carrying the Cross, and when I read it originally, it was 9 minutes long. It wasn't now. Excuse me. It was written. Excuse me. So it was 9 minutes long, and now, as you can see, it is 31 minutes long. This is actually a rough draft of what I wrote when I was at 63 Thomas Street, and I brought it to the Sent Ones conference, and Duncan Smith and Duncan himself, they both went through it when I was in session. Their handwriting is all over it, if anybody wants to know. Kate reformatted it and kind of put arrows. Where can I find it? Here. That's Kate's. Kate added a verse and she put an arrow up there. That's not my handwriting. So that's that one. And then we have the final draft afterwards, after I had printed it out on my computer. I believe it's 17 pages long, 31 minutes. My other one is only 15 minutes long, but with the PowerPoint, I believe it'll be a little bit longer. I had an app put on my computer because Jonathan Gartho had continuously tried to hack into my computer. Oh my goodness. Jonathan Gartho, it was called the Desktop Remote app. When I removed it out of my computer and went through, he put in apps, and when I removed it out of my computer, I crashed his computer and it crashed Dallas's computer, and at the church apparently. So that was the remote app. So that's how he was getting in. Another thing, what I did is I had to put passwords on every single file I have, so as not for them to get into my sermons, because people were trying to steal my sermons. and not to get into my PowerPoint, because at one point I had to redo the whole PowerPoint that I posted on YouTube. There's one in Spanish. I translated the whole thing in Spanish. If you notice when you go down to the slide, Romans 8 verse 30, it says Romanos, which is Spanish obviously for Romans. So I went back and I fixed it. So when also I was told I did not know PowerPoint this morning, you have no idea what PowerPoint is. I learned PowerPoint when I was in college in hotel restaurant management at Niagara College of Applied Arts and Technology that I attended from 2010 to 2012. I didn't graduate because I missed 3 subjects, but I learned PowerPoint then, and it's also part of the Microsoft 365 that's on my computer. I learned Excel, I learned PowerPoint, obviously Word, and what was the other one? I know Excel, but I have to relearn it because I haven't used it in years. So I've learned all of that. So doing the PowerPoint slides is really easy. Obviously, because there's a template, and then you can, when John just hacked into my computer and he disabled my designer, I started just for the pictures. Those have pictures on them. The other one that I've done, he disabled what I tried to do the other one. So what I did is I ended up adding videos on them. So live images and live animation. All you had to do, and then they asked me yesterday, how did you do this? Well, what I did is I Googled how on the PowerPoint, how can I add a recording onto my slide? So what I did is I put in where my camera works, the camera that I have on my laptop, which they recorded, and it's on the slide. So some of it's kind of jumbled, and because of the tech that's happening, I'm reading my sermon that I wrote, and then I'm trying to keep my face in the camera, and then I'm also trying to change the slide that go along with the sermon, and then recording it. So, and I had to go back and edit it. So the actual PowerPoint slides, if you know anything about PowerPoint, has a recording, which on the sides, if you see me here in this videotape, on the sides in the little corner on each slide is the recording. So I went back into my PowerPoint slides and I just clicked on, because it was on some little cell that it was on, and so what I did is I just deleted it. So now I still have the PowerPoint if ever given the opportunity to go to preach it anywhere. So I have that, and I also have it in Spanish in case I've ever given the opportunity to speak in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I guess it would have an interpreter, as well as I can go back and the new sermon that I've written about the harvest of a generation, I can go in and I could record that once I've printed it off, and I could post that as well. I might do so. I'm not quite certain. I'll figure that out later. Excuse me. I still have my cold. The other thing I want to say is a lot of people say you're first you were targeting Sandra and you were targeting Ash, because Sandra and Ash did what they were doing, how they were defaming my character, contacting places of employment, and contacting ODSP. Those are things that they really did do. And when I was pat searched as a boarder and put in a holding cell because Ash contacted, and because Ed Raven did too as well. Ash has since come to the microphone on Sunday, Easter Sunday morning, Saturday. Would have been Sunday, would have been Saturday. Ash has since come into the microphone asking me personally to, she has been repentant, she's asked for forgiveness, and she's also asked if I can minister and pray for her. Ash has, she appears to be doing an about face. Now, I said that I will not minister to her. I've been released to minister, but I will not minister to her without Kate being there and without Duncan being there, or both of them, or one of them, or preferably both of them. So she was going to have to wait for that. That will be the time when I do pray for her. I'm not going into Toronto alone. The only ways I would be going into Toronto would be with When Georges, Melanie are gone, when Sandra's not there, when Murray's not there, and if Ash is there, it will be on Duncan and Kate's advisement, as well as with Duncan and Kate, or with Kate. I will never be entering alone unless they are removed from leadership and Sandra is formally charged. The other thing I would like to state is a lot of people say, well, Jonas Regato this, Jonas Regato that, Melanie Regato this, Melanie Regato that. Yeah, okay, so let's start with the truth. The truth is that Melanie Regato and Jonas Regato set out to destroy my life because because Jonas wanted to be my companion when I was in Toronto. Jonas is 37, 33, 38, and he's in his 30s anyways, and I'm early mid-50s, 55, so I could be his mother. I've stated on a number of occasions that I could be his mother. He also had spent a lot of time, I've spoken in previous sessions, as being in a mental institution, and I will say institution, they're not wellness centers down in Brazil. He spent 3 months there, and the only reason why he was asked to come back was because John Arnott wanted Melanie to marry him, because Melanie had to marry him because Melanie was pregnant with John's daughter, and they had to give her a husband, and in doing so they gave them the leadership of the youth leadership. So Jonas does have that mental issue that's still there, as well as being a warlock, as well as engaging in those satanic activities, as well as engaging in child pornography, as well as engaging in raping young women, and raping young women as well. That's Jonas. Melanie has also engaged in. There is a whole thing. As well as I've spoken about, by Melanie engaging in having an amphetamine addiction. Melanie has a crystal methadone addiction. Melanie also has crack addiction. Melanie also uses Szechuan, which is not Szechuan sauce. It is actually a mixture of methadone and crack. Melanie has also taken Lara, Jasmine, and Summer as well, and has constantly, their whole job was to become girls, giving them betting schedules, having them sexually exploited, and I want to thank God openly right now. I want to thank James Gimrich and Ellie Gimrich, who has taken responsibility for Summer and Jasmine, and because of John's power, Lara is in a safe place right now. And I hope, and I'm praying that I will that Lara will be able to be with me, to live with me at some point once I get my money. I'll speak about that in a moment as well. The other thing I noticed, I tuned into the Fresh Wind session 4 in which Melanie was speaking. Melanie wears those pants, those black pants. She had snakes around her ankles. She had leggings on that were coated with crack. She also was noticed. If you noticed, Melanie wasn't wearing a wedding ring. She's stating that she is being divorced. She's telling everybody she's divorcing Jonas Regato. Whether or not she is, I could care less. She should have divorced him, never married him. As you'd also notice, Melanie had her hair like that. Melanie repeatedly, Jessica Neighbor arrived in Toronto. She's Duncan and Kate's daughter, as well as the senior leader, as well as she's also a member of the organization over in Tri-Table Straight Rally with a number of people there. Kelly and Justin Rife, Aaron Nibber, and who else? At one point it was Devon Allen, Jacob, the youth leader. I don't know his last name, and that's over there. That's their invitation and rally. Duncan doesn't like it. Kate doesn't like it. There's a board member as well who's on the member of the organization. They are doing their very best because they founded the church to get them out of the church, and they're meeting up with. They have their to fulfill their their duties, so to speak, as traveling as the presidents. So to be the presidents and to fulfill that and to be the founders and try to monitor what's going on in the church is becoming difficult. Anyways, like I said, Melanie was wearing one of these. Melanie wasn't wearing her wedding ring. Melanie had taken this earring. I have this earring, and Duncan gave me this earring. This actually, they were Kate's. And Duncan had given, when they were married, Duncan had given them to Kate. And they had a disagreement, and Kate gave them back to Duncan. So I have this one. He had his one. It was sitting in his office on his desk. And Melanie went in there. Duncan was there. Duncan has been in New Zealand over Easter visiting their daughters and ministering as well. They both have been up in New Zealand visiting family. That's all over Facebook. So I'm not telling tales out of school that their daughters, they have a daughter family over and they're ministering over in New Zealand. So Melanie had gone into his office. Jessica has access to that office because she is the senior leader. Jessica is claiming that Duncan has a mental issue, which he does not, and she's going to be a power of attorney. Jessica would know a power of attorney if it smacked her in the face with a book. The reason I'm saying that is because Jessica is not a very knowledgeable person, such as Melanie isn't as well. The two of them are half the time high on drugs. Jessica has been asked not to wear long sleeves anymore by Kate, and so what she does is she coats her arms, and she coats. She wore. Tuned into Raleigh as well as she wore a very tight top dress. It was a very pretty dress actually, and she wore heels. So the cross that she wore, the necklace that she wore, the little white round thing. I don't know what you want to call it. The little white thing that was there. It had a pig's blood in it. And that was on her necklace. And then on her, she wasn't wearing a corset. She was, however, wearing a bra with pig's blood. And her skirt was wide enough and loose enough that she could wear a little snake around her waist. So that's what she wore. Jessica had brought Melanie down there because Jessica has always been jealous of my relationship with Duncan. We have 3 years as being companions. Jessica has always not liked me. Jessica is a very jealous young woman. Jessica now, who is a methadone addict and part of the organization, she has repeatedly threatened Duncan. She has repeatedly threatened me. She has threatened him with things that he has been completely exonerated about. That other people know that he has been completely exonerated about. So he brought Melanie down there in order for her to become his companion. Whatever. Needless to say, Melanie had to come back because Murray called her because, Melanie, you're speaking at Fresh Wind. I want to know also if your son or daughter, or even a chaperone or a leader, we call them chaperone, or a leader came back from Fresh Wind feeling ill at any point, or during Fresh Wind feeling ill at any point. You see the fan that they had blowing with the effects? It wasn't effects. What they were is they were blowing crack into the audience. That's what they were doing. They had the fan, was blowing right into the audience. So if your child was sick, if your child had felt dizzy, if at any time your child threw up, that was what it was. Or it could have been crystal methadone. It could have been a combination of both of them, and that's what it was. It wasn't effects. The other thing is that if you notice the graphics, the crown that came down, there was the same one that was used over at Castify Rally. That is from the Satanic Organization that was spoken about, that the enemy has control over the churches. It's used in other churches as well. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, Now, that's the reason why Melanie says her and Jonatas enlisted other people, Melinda as well. Melinda had it in for Duncan because Duncan wouldn't, quote unquote, bed her. At the time, Melinda had begun, or was a Satanist as well. When I say member of the organization, I mean Satanist, right? That's what they are. Jonatas has repeatedly walked into the office and has actually said, no, I'm not going to give up in harassing and try to ruin Michelle's life. Both him and Melanie are the same. They are knowing that I have built a community of people over at the Daily Bread Food Bank, sending Dallas Winston over there as well on yesterday, I believe. And Jonathan says, I have a friend in the warehouse, so I'm going to be let in through the warehouse, come in and get Michelle and potentially have a gun. Let's keep in mind that this is some physical evidence of Jonas Regato and his attack. I also have pictures of bruises as well. So, where's my phone? Those who don't know what he looks like, those who are privy to what he looks like and have no knowledge of what he looks like, is my gallery. This is Jonas Regato. This is Melinda Jeffrey. You can't see this one, it's too little. Maybe if I bring it in. That's Lisa, Greg, Jordan, Riley, Alex, and Alex's girlfriend. They're very old pictures. They're blocked. Those are them. So if you see them in and around the food bank, if you see them in and around this area of Judson Street, if you see them around Royal York Road, if you see them around, I do not have pictures of what I'm trying to do now. I will bring up a picture of Jeff Yancey. He tried to get me on Instagram. I can't bring it up. It's not always a way. I also want to talk about something else. Remember I wrote about the wedding plans and wedding being... He did ask me to marry. He did. In Morrisville on November the 2nd, 2023. He did. He did ask me to marry him. I did make plans. He did send me back because there was no knowledge of my visa. The other reason why I was sent back, and the other reason why he will come into town and he won't see me, is there's two reasons actually now. The first reason is because of my wig. I've had various styles over the past little bit. This one, where I had my short hair, I hated that wig. But he said, get it, get it. It'll look nice, it'll be fine. This one, that's just my long hair. He didn't like that either. Apparently it was an embarrassment. The blue wig, he liked the length, but he didn't like the color, even though he told me to get the color. This one I chose, and it is thinning out, and right now it looks very bad. I've had to cut it, and I'm hopefully going to have enough money to buy another one soon. It has created an embarrassment. He has been, because of who he is, his prominence as the president of the church. It also has created problems with us in terms of us speaking to each other, in terms of our relationship, because a companionship, any interaction, I believe, any interaction with another human being is a relationship, whether it be a good relationship, a toxic relationship, a intimate relationship, which is what we have, and a good relationship, bad relationship, whatever that is. They define friendships as a friendship, an acquaintance, or an intimate relationship. That's how they define it. Anyway, in our conversations, it has been something that has been a constant battle between us. So, which is something he has gone through. He's had medical issues. I think I've spoken about that before. He's had cancer. He's had surgery for his cancer. He's had tumors removed. He had a stroke last summer, so he suffered from a stroke, in which he's all been healed from. He's had a heart attack. So he's had certain other things that's happened to him. I've had a stroke. I've had a heart attack. I've had, the reason why I wear a wig is because I have alopecia, which caused from my medication that I've had. So many years ago, when I used to take this other medication and my hair didn't grow, and that is an embarrassment. A lot of men. That's an embarrassment to a lot of men. A guy told me once when I was younger, probably about 35 years ago, he said, there's something in the Bible, and I can't catch the verse right off bat, is that a woman's hair is her crown. Okay, so at the time, I looked at him, I said, oh, okay, so because I have no hair, I don't have a crown. And he said, exactly. I've since forgiven and been healed, but it is something that is kind of a sore spot with me, in the sense that not a sore spot, but it's, you know how we all have our little idiosyncrasies where people can say one thing and you think, oh yes, it's been healed, and you think, oh, maybe it hasn't been healed yet. But with him, I actually have forgiven him. I've gone through a whole list of things that I asked for forgiveness for, and so has he, most recently. And excuse me, and as well as the fact that I'm not letting him choose my wigs anymore. I chose this one. I like this one. I've always it was much nicer before, and today it doesn't look all that great. And when I work in a warehouse, it doesn't look all that great either. I'm looking for a bandana to put on it. But when I was younger, a few years ago, in my late 40s, early 50s, well, actually all growing up, let me just keep going, that I've always wanted curly hair. That's something I've always wanted, hair with ringlets, hair with curls, so that's what I would like. And when I found this at Chagall, the lovely my consultant, Marie down there, she did that. She got this for me. That's why Melanie, because she's my weight now. Before Riley Satchel, Lisa had bought a wig like this. Lisa had bought a wig like that, and she had Riley Satchel because Riley was my weight and she could wear that wig. Lisa had bought glasses like this. Me, being as silly as I was at the time, all of my old wigs I used to have, I would donate them to Carlene's over where I used to get my wigs in St. Catharines. I would donate them to her. She would, if possible, fix them up and then bring them over to the Canadian Cancer Society for women who were unable to afford a wig. They were donated. And that's what I used to do. While Riley Satchel, Lisa would buy wigs, and Riley had that wig, and she would go around and she would have the clothing as well, and that's how my physical identity was stolen in that sense, because Riley was seen at the Crown Plaza Hotel smoking crystal methadone, dealing drugs, and they took pictures of her, brought it back to Ash, brought it back to other people that people who didn't claim to know me, but not really to know who I was, because I didn't, and I chose not to. My trust is like this. I don't trust people very often, and I can open up to so many people, to certain people some things, to other people some things. When Kate, and I'm allowed to call her Kate. When Kate used to speak to me through the camera and the microphone, she would say things like, no, you need to tell me how you're feeling. And I would say, she says, that's not a feeling. You need to tell me how you're feeling. She would always say, it's like talking to me and getting emotion out and getting how I really feel is like pulling teeth. Duncan would say the same thing. It's like pulling teeth. But when you have the supernatural capabilities, Kate has that, Duncan has that, I have that, you can be able to read people's spirits, then and you can feel their spirits, and you know what is going on. That's how she can actually feel. It's like being so close to someone, and like when you're married to someone, or when when you have a child and you know something's going on with that. People call it intuition. It's not intuition. It's having their spirits within you. It's that love. That's what that is. So Kate used to say that about me, that she could never, and Sandra Long originally said, I put the camera and the microphone in because I could never know who Michelle was or what Michelle was doing or anything like that, and I needed to know who Michelle was and what she was doing when she lived in St. Catharines. Well, I don't live in St. Catharines anymore. I live in Etobicoke, and then I lived in Mississauga for a year. So anyway, where am I going with this? Emotions. So that's something that Duncan and I can get from each other, emotions. So when I said that there was something about the bigger picture about the wedding, he had proposed in Morrisville. He went to New Zealand to spend Easter. He had me plan a whole wedding, and he had me do all this, go to the wedding showcase. He was in the office on the 22nd, and I do know, so was Kate. Kate was in the office as well on the 22nd. Today I was at the wedding showcase. The other reason why he broke up, canceled our wedding, postponed the wedding, canceled it, or will not see me, is because I will not do a raping schedule. That is one of the things that I have stood against. He knows this. He knows that that I will never do it. And there are reasons why I will never do it, and that's why there was the clause that Stephen Long wrote. If you've had a heart attack, if you've had a stroke, and if you've had an eating disorder. I've had all three, but I've been healed. And then along comes, I believe it was Tracy Giesbrecht, or maybe it was Linda Cooley. If you've been healed from a heart attack, if you've been healed from a stroke, if you've been healed from an eating disorder, then you will do a raping schedule. In order to get any money from the Catch Fire Toronto, whether it be a lawsuit or whether it be a companionship money, then you will have to do a raping schedule. I call them raping schedules because I say, do I know you? I've had men come on over the microphone and say, call me sweetheart, or ask me what I would like to eat for breakfast, or anything, or ask me if I needed anything. And I say, do I know you? Are you planning a party? Why? Because in doing a raping schedule, Mary Audrey Raycroft insists that the woman either get money or that the woman either get a gift. They actually have a catalog, or one catalog that I'm aware of, that men can go through and that they can pick out gifts for women they rape. Do you know what that is? Besides being extortion, besides being sexually extorted, that's a bribe. That's what that is. That's highly illegal, is by saying that you will not get any money from a lawsuit if you don't have a raping schedule. They have taken women and children at Cash Fire Toronto, at Cash Fire Rally, at other Cash Fire churches I do not have privy to. And they have raped. And they have insisted men are pedophiles. They've allowed them to be engaged in child pornography. They've allowed them to be engaged in pornography because Gordon Harris takes pictures of, I know this because of Sarah, Gordon as well. Also, not only because of Sarah, but because of other, our Heavenly Father showed me, and the camera and microphone. Gordon Harris takes pictures of the young women from the School of Ministry. Naked, right? That's pornography. That's sexual exploitation. That's trafficking. Stephen Long, I know, had a whole thing where he was against trafficking from new immigrants that came in, and that was a ministry that they did at one point. Well, maybe let's, instead of looking outward, let's look inward. When I say instead of looking outward at other people in order to get healed, and to, what it says on the Bible, to take the plank out of the others, out of the eye of someone else. Let's look inward to your own healing. Well, instead of looking outward at what needs to be done in terms of ministry or what needs outreach or just for trafficking, let's look inward to the church, where they are still doing raping schedules, where men walked into that church during Fresh Wind and were angry, and I heard it. They were angry because 87 raping schedules were not fulfilled, because the majority of them were either given back to CADIS or the others were given to the police. And bravo to you who did that. Good for you. I was asked this morning, if you ever started a church, what would it be called? Freedom, the Church of Truth. And giving up, I mean, that's the other thing too. This dress, you can't see it. That dress I bought. Duncan asked me to buy that dress. He said, I'm going to take you to a formal. Well, it turns out that the quote-unquote lingerie that Melanie was in was that Melanie wore at Union Station. It wasn't lingerie. It was a formal dress that she wore to a formal with Duncan. And I do know for a fact that Kate was probably really upset I don't know for a fact. I do know, knowing what I do know about Kate probably would have been really upset. And by upset, I'm just going to say it. She would have been really pissed off. But the fact that she walked it, that he had her there. And of course, in Melanie true fashion, because she has that addiction of amphetamines, and because she has that addiction, she is a heavy drinker. Melanie did get drunk. And she makes a fool out of herself. Melanie is more of a liability than she is any kind of, she's a liability. Melanie says Melanie likes to go around and she likes to make fun of me, and she likes to say, oh, I want to live Michelle's life. And she said this morning, I want to live Michelle's life because I want to live in a room. Someone said, you do live in a room, Melanie. You live in room 723 at the Sandman Hotel. Oh, I want to do what Michelle does. I want to go and volunteer, or I want to get a job. No, Melanie. Your job is to be ready to have your panties down for when any man wants to come in and have sex. Okay. Oh, to aspire to be like her. I posted the sermon because our Heavenly Father asked me to. I posted the sermon because, not to prove that Melanie or whoever else had stolen parts of it, but because our Heavenly Father wanted me to. I was just going to read it, but then I figured that I could actually, someone I was spoken to, and that I could probably get the slides from my PowerPoint. Melanie's job is to read a sermon every now and again that Jonatas has written. Melanie's job has been spoken repeatedly before her daughters were taken away from her, to sexually exploit her daughters. And, like I just said, to be ready, willing, and available for when a man wants her. And that's my problem. I will only be, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist when it comes to that, and I'm not supposed to be. To be Duncan's wife, now, he wants me to be ready, willing, and available when he comes into town, because I have to wait 3 months if I was to go into the U.S. because of Trump. Well, my reaction is, I'm sorry, what if I'm busy? What if I'm volunteering? What if I get a job? I've applied for work. What if I have an appointment? What if I'm accessing the food bank because you won't give me money because I won't sleep with other men? Now, that being said, Sandra Long has threatened him. Sandra Long has stated that she will get no money, and she's months. This has gone on since November of 2023. Sandra Long has threatened him, threatened me, and said you won't get any money unless you have a raping schedule. And those on the raping schedule are all members of the satanic organization whose sole purpose is to rape me and kill me and bring me to St. Catherine's and have me lynched. And that's the sole purpose. And then, so that. The other thing is that Duncan was also threatened by Jessica. Jessica, who is a jealous addict, who only wants to see one thing and one thing only, and not me, not with him. Oh, and she wants the necklace. Because actually, originally I did buy the necklace for her, but she wants the necklace. That's Jessica's goal. Well, sorry to say, Jessica Neighbor, you are losing on all grounds. Duncan will still be your dad. Kate will still be your mom. But the way she's going to find herself in a lot of trouble. And that's not a threat for me. That's just a threat. That's not even a threat at all. That's just a statement in regards to what the police would, the police and the authorities are going to find out eventually. And where she'll end up. So I choose to be here. I choose to, as Kate would say, flourish. No, nourish. Be nourished. She says be nourished. She says that a lot. Do things that nourish you. I choose to be nourished. I choose to flourish. I choose to follow our Heavenly Father. And I choose not to sleep with other men. And I will stay in His life. I don't know how that's going to look at all. At all, at all, at all. He says he still needs me to be in His life. But if He's going to trick me the way He has been doing into having sex with Aaron once I come down to if I would have come down to the conference, Aaron or anyone else or Murray, that's not going to happen. It won't happen for one reason and one reason only. Automatically what will happen is that my angels, and people have seen them, so I'm not telling tales out of school. My angels will surround me, and someone who would try to approach me and trying to rape me or physically assault me again will be maligned. I don't know what angels do. Angels fight for you. That's what they do. So that's what they will do. And that was the bigger picture. The bigger picture was that he doesn't like the fact I wear a wig. And he doesn't like the fact that now he doesn't like the fact that I won't take part in a raping schedule. And in which case he says, you'll never see me again. And I said, okay. Because, you see, one of the clauses is in order to release a woman as a companion, they actually have to come see them, have sex with him. That's what he does, has sex with him. And whether or not, I don't know if he gives them necklaces or if he gives them rings. Take it off. And hand it over. He takes it off, actually. Kate was going to take it off because he's not going to see me again. I've worn this necklace since November of 2023. Almost 2 years. We've been together for 2 years, for 3. He still wants to be in my life. I don't know how that's going to look. I told him I'm not taking it off until I get money. Or until I see you. But he won't see me unless there's a raping schedule. So now it's going to be Kate. Kate will take it off. But as stated, it will not be going to Jessica. I will keep it. It's not going to be part of his little trophy. I will keep it. And maybe someday put it on. Certain companions have certain pieces of jewelry that they wear. I can't put those on right now. I have to see, and then I have to. This that Melanie stole from the other one, that Melanie stole from Duncan's desk. I would be hard pressed to be Melanie. I don't know what her last name is, Regado. I would not want to be here. Kate enters that office and sees her wearing it. I would be very upset. Not very upset. I would be very wary of her to be wearing it because she may no longer have an earlobe. I know that about Kate. I also know that about Duncan. She would no longer have an earlobe. He asked me, yeah, are you going to be wearing this? And I said, if I ever was going to be wearing this, I said no. I was going to sew it in a piece of cloth and put it under my wedding dress. The dress I was going to wear. Which is this dress. Yes, it's white. It's a white halter dress. Now, that's the other thing you need to be aware of. Jessica never wore a white, it looked like a white skirt with a blue sweater over top of it. Was it blue or was it lavender? It was blue, and then she wore it one time. Riley Sasser had given that to her. Riley Sasser found the dress in the same place I found the dress. And it was over at the Bay, over at the Penn Center. I got it for $35, and by the time I had to have it altered, it was an extra $48, so it was $85 Canadian. People love to go shopping with me. Kate said that. I want to go shopping with her. She gets the most amazing deals. So that's why. Because Jessica knew that Duncan liked the dress. And also the other thing is that Jessica spent the better part of a good couple of years, ever since she knew about me and Duncan, spent the better part of a good couple of years, trying to do things like cut her hair, like try to curl her hair, and then finally that's it. She's joined the organization. I get proclaimed, somebody at one point, someone says, well, Michelle, we know you're a Satanist. I'm like, I've just posted a message about the salvation, about the cross, about the salvation of Jesus Christ, accepting him as your Lord and Savior, and a cross. I don't think so. So there have always been a number of rumors going around about me. Part of them in Casper Niagara was mostly because of certain individuals were told to, like Lisa and Jane McQuiggan, and they were, and Penny Lane herself, they did not like me. Apparently, there was money changing hands between Ed and them to get me out of the church, and Marie and them. So that was the one thing. The other thing is that now the other thing, yes, Melanie had spoken about this morning that they used to have a camera on me because Joe's Regato used to tour around and tell people that I masturbated in church. Okay. I get, first of all, that one, I'm a lesbian, which I have stated, and I'll state over and over again, that I have nothing against that community of people. I believe, like other people, that they need Jesus, and that the church has done very, very wrong ministering to that community of people. Two, that I masturbate in church. Three, that now in Toronto, I've stolen sermons. Four, that I was going to come back to Toronto and be Jonas Regato's companion. No. Five, that, what else? Me and Murray Smith are going to get together again. Yeah, that was the whole thing. I'm not coming back to Toronto, like I've stated. I'm still looking for a lawyer. I called legal aid, and they have yet to call me back. But then again, it's only Tuesday after a long weekend. I'm looking for a job. I've applied to different places. I got to the last module of my insurance, and I have to take my segregated funds, and I'm only going to do it because I need to be finished. I don't like realizing more and more that the AOL Globe Life, I've been actually my manager cut me off her team because I'm not a producer. I'm not into producing and working for commission. I have worked a commission shop, but it was a retail store over in St. Catharines where they actually was a retail selling children's clothing. So, I mean, in terms of sales and customer service and things like that, I've done it before. I believe our Heavenly Father has taken me down a different road, a road where I'm more passionate about. And I did apply to the food bank, and we'll see what happens with that. It closes today. We'll see. I hope so. I mean, people say it's only, you can't make that kind of money and live in Toronto. Well, I'm not worried about it. I would rather, like I've always said that to people, you always get a job that you're passionate about, and it doesn't matter because the money will not matter. You see lots of people in different positions where they hate their jobs because of the money. I am passionate about being an advocate for people in risk. I am passionate about being an advocate and for doing something like volunteering. I love. I've made a number of friends there. That's the problem. They see that. Melanie, Jonathan, and people like that, they see that. They see me making friends. They see me flourishing. They see me in Toronto, going where I go, having my Nigerian refugee family up in Scarborough and having them, visiting them on a regular basis. And so they are continuing their quest, and I'll say their quest, into trying to ruin my life by calling and making, threatening people and spreading lies about me, and they can continue to do that. And where are the police in this? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I chose not to. And if I ever see him again, which I hope I will, yeah, I hope I do. And I hope it's not in a place where it's a courtroom and where I'm suing the church and he has to testify or something silly like that. I've had visions of that as well. So I'm not angry at Melanie. I just think that her little quest with Jonathan should be coming to an end now. It's coming to an end. It's been 4 years, and that's what they said. 4 years, the end of April, where they started out to ruin my life. That's what Melanie said. To ruin my life. Well, guess what? You failed. And I hope you have a wonderful day as you begin this week. As we begin the week, it's Tuesday. And yeah, have a wonderful week.